Hello everyone and welcome to the official patch notes for Wild Rift patch 6.2. We're going to be going through over 30 pages of changes that's all coming to the game tomorrow. A lot of these changes are going to shift up a lot for the meta. We've got item reworks, item changes, new items coming to the game, and the return of an old item. Boots Enchant changes, new Boots Enchants coming to the Rift, champion changes, champion reworks, map changes as well, including a delay to the spawn time of dragons and Rift Heralds, making laning phase longer, a change to Baron, a change to turret plates. A lot is going to change, I think, in the meta after this new update. And this is probably the best patch that I think I've read through in a long time. Of course, if you want to skip to a certain part of the video, timestamps will be in the description or in the pinned comment. And as always, make sure you subscribe to the channel and like the video to support the channel as well. All the love is much appreciated. We're going to be going through a lot over the next few days. With so many AD carry items changing, I'm going to be doing a video in the next few days, which I'm going to go through every single AD carry and the best builds to go for them as well. So make sure you keep an eye out for that video. Again, make sure you subscribe to the channel for that one. Let's read through this. Oh, we have a lot to go through. 30 pages, baby. This is going to be very exciting. First up, the new champion Aurora, of course, coming out tomorrow. I think Aurora is going to be a very flexible, very strong mid lane champion to play. She's going to be a mid lane mage. She has a lot of mobility, a lot of burst damage. I do already have a build for her over on my website, Wild Rift Fire. If you do want to check out the website, you can do. This is also all going to be updated when the patch releases on Thursday. But you can see here, the Aurora build is already here, which I think this is going to be by far the best build for her. But make sure you check out Wild Rift Fire. This is the website that I update all the builds. All these builds are going to be updated tomorrow with all the new Yordle themed items and everything as well. So make sure you check that out. But yeah, really fun mid lane mage that I think is going to be very strong in the next patch. And I think it's probably going to be one of the champions like Zillion release. Probably going to get banned every single game, but make sure you give her a try. She's going to be very fun to play. New behavior system, absolute cinnabar. We have been asking for this for years. An honest system which credits and just, you know, allows people to basically behave well and they get bonuses in the game. And of course, if you do behave really badly and if you're super toxic, if you're AFK, if you leave the game, then you're going to be restricted with what queues you can actually queue up for. There are some times where you get low enough points in the player behavior system and you won't be able to queue up for rank anymore. You will have to play PvP matches until you can play ranked again. So this is a great change and a great update, which we've all been asking for a long time, but I'm glad it's finally in Wild Rift, and hopefully this will give a lot of people a better playing experience when playing Wild Rift. New rank season coming out on Friday. Remember that tomorrow on Thursday it's still going to be the old rank season, season 17. So make sure that you test out all the builds. You make sure that you know what you're doing. Make sure you know what you're going to be playing in the new season as well. I'm going to be releasing a video tomorrow which is going to showcase some of the best champions that you can play in the new rank season 18, and that's going to be July 18th at 3 a.m. UTC. That's when the new season is going to come out. So again, pretty excited to see that one. New wild pass, I think we have a Lilia skin and also a Urgot skin, if I'm not mistaken. New battle line, returning skins include optimize some of the missions to level up faster, increase mission experience. That's pretty cool. We've improved the returning skins experience. Wild Pass treasure chest now become the Wild Pass Trove. After reaching the guaranteed draw threshold, you'll be able to directly select a desired skin as your final reward. Oh, that's nice. Allowing you to receive the old skins much easier, which is quite nice. Mini pass returning skin track as well, which is quite cool. Also be a new bundle when you purchase the Wild Pass and mini Wild Pass combo bundle. I mean, I always buy the elite version of both the Wild Passes, so I'll probably buy this as well. I mean, Wild Passes always have insane value. Current elite version of the Wild Pass, elite version of the upcoming mini Wild Pass, including its feature skin and chromas. Damn. Wild Pass. What's the mini pass skin again? Oh, it is Urgot. Battlecast Urgot. Not really champions that I play. I sometimes play Lilia. I don't think Lilia will be a bad skin. This is kind of a mess skin, but overall it's still pretty good. New events. Aurora lands on the Rift. Aurora's Runeterra Adventures. Game modes. Spellbook ARAM 1 for all coming July 18th and also July 18th. So that's quite nice. Okay, on to champion changes. I have to say that some of this does very much confused me. There is a lot of ADCs being reworked in the next patch. Varus, Zeri, Ashe, Jinx, Misfortune, and Vayne. All of these AD carries are getting a really big rework in the next patch. And to be honest with you, these changes, there's a lot of changes, as you can see. A lot of numbers and a lot of changes. I think overall, just as a overall opinion on all of these reworks, I think we won't really know too much until we actually play the champions. I think it's very difficult to predict, especially Varus, what his build's going to be in the new patch. I think it's either going to go back to lethality Varus, where you go for Manamune and of course the new Dustblade, which I'll talk about a little bit later on, or you can go for more on-hit AP builds. I think there's a lot of variations you can go for Varus's build. With Essence Reaver changing, there's no longer that build anymore with Essence Reaver as first item, so make sure you avoid that completely. But just an overall TLDR, the big thing is here is that you're not getting a lot of crazy attack speed anymore. The non-champion kills grant a little bit of attack speed. As you can see, it's quite a lot less than the 60% that you did, the 30% that you got before. But now you gain additional attack speed, attack damage, and ability power equal to 1000%. As you can see, these patch notes, I don't feel like these patch notes are finished. We had a read of the Chinese PBE patch notes before, and to be honest, some of that translated was very difficult to understand. This isn't much easier to understand, to be honest with you. 1000% of what? I mean, if it's the same as before, it's 1000% of the attack speed, but is it bonus attack speed? Is it the same amount of attack speeds as, you know, your standard amount? I'm not really too sure. And also it doesn't tell you about the champion bonus that you get as well, because defeating enemy champion before gave you 60% attack speed boost and non-champions got you 30% attack speed boost. So again, kind of difficult to understand what the passive change is. But overall, you just get less attack speed now when you kill a non-champion. But now you can gain additional attack speed and attack damage and ability power. So overall, it might add up to this, but we'll have to wait and see. So for the first ability, even though this says it's new, there actually is a description in the game already. The arrow damage and a blighted explosion damage increases to 0 to 50%. I think they're removing the old one because the old one I think was just the arrow damage if I'm not mistaken, but they also have the blight explosion as well. So it increases to 0 to 50%, which is increased with charge time. The base damage of your first ability is going up by a lot. You can see here in terms of numbers. The AD ratio is getting a little bit lower in the early game, but it's going to eventually, you know, go up to 130%, which is higher than what it was before. The main reason behind this, as I mentioned already, is that we're no longer going to have the really OP Essence Reaver build that we have for Varus before. Essence Reaver first item was so good on Varus, really empowered his first ability damage a lot, but now it's not in the game anymore, and Essence Reaver has been reworked, so they have to buff the ability somewhere. Second ability, new. When detonating champion / epic monsters camps, reduce the basic ability cooldown by 13%. Each target can be reduced remaining cooldown for a maximum of 39%. Again, I feel like this is already in the game. I remember looking in the game and this was already in the game, so I don't really understand what's new with this and new with this. Well, I think with these reworks, we'll just have to wait until we get into the game itself tomorrow, which I will be live streaming the games tomorrow as well, and live streaming the new patch. We'll just have to wait until we get into there tomorrow and then see what the changes actually are. Detonating one stack of blight deals a maximum of 120 damage to jungle camps, just making sure that Varus jungle with these changes are not going to be as strong. The only really thing that we can take from this is kind of like the damage numbers overall. Actually, the base attack damage on hit from the second ability, so this is without using your second ability, the number has gone up, and the AP ratio as well has gone up by quite a lot. So this is what I was talking about, that you can go for maybe more on hit Varus with going for more ability power as well, because this ability power does scale a little bit more, which is quite nice. When you detonate the blight stacks, however, this has been reduced a little bit, so the percentage of your ability power has been reduced, and the flat percentage has also been reduced as well. So you're not doing as much burst damage when you're detonating your blight stacks with your other abilities. Active, the next piercing arrow will deal 8 to 16% of the target's missing health as bonus magic damage, increased by 0 to 50% based on charge time. This is what I saw before in the game. So I wonder if they have this and they also have this as well. That would be crazy in my opinion though. You're already increasing the base AD and the AD ratio of your first ability, And now your arrow damage can increase to up to 50% more if your charge time as well. A little bit confusing to understand that because this is already in the game and this is saying it's new. A little bit interesting. And also the Blighted Quiver passive bonus base attack is doubled for 6 seconds. So a nice little change there. Zeri. Personal opinion of Zeri with these changes, I think Zeri is going to be one of the best AD carries to play in the next patch. TLDR, you don't need to play Zeri anymore with Enchanted supports. It's still better in my opinion to play her with Enchanted supports, but basically the shielding passive has gone away now, so she's not getting any more value now when you're hitting shields anymore or when you're gaining shields by yourself. However, all of her other abilities got buffed. Ultimate got buffed, third ability got buffed, second ability, you can say it's about 50-50, and also the first ability got buffed. So overall, it's, in my opinion, a great change to Zeri. As you can see, you gain movement speed for 3 seconds when shielded. That's no longer the game. And Zeri shields herself for 60% of the damage that she deals to shields. Again, that has also been removed. The passive, which is basically the same passive as the first ability, so we don't need to read through this. This was basically on the first ability passive, but now the first ability has new passives. As you can see, this ability's passive effect has now been moved to Living Battery, Zeri's passive. So new part of the first ability now, if this ability kills an enemy, it refunds 50% of its cooldown and 100% of its mana cost. Really, really big change to help Zeri with farming during the laning phase, but also you could use your first ability to now last hit minions and also poke down enemy champions as well. 50% of the cooldown being reduced is big, and also you get 100% of the mana back. So think of Annie's first ability, very similar to that. With Annie's first ability, if you last hit a minion, you get some of the cooldown and also the mana back, which is quite nice. This, in my opinion, is more of a nerf than a buff. It might turn out to be a buff overall, but this second ability being magic damage has actually made it so you can deal a little bit of magic damage in your kit, and your kit isn't all focused on physical damage. So if the enemy team doesn't build a lot of magic resist, you're going to be able to do a little bit more magic damage with your second ability, but now it's all physical damage. If the enemies build armor, you're definitely going to be doing less damage with the second ability. But I think this is stop like the AP Zeri builds that we're going around with, like Manamune, Trinity Force, Awaken, Soul Stealer, some crazy shenanigans. Yeah, Cux, I'm looking at you with that build. That was some crazy builds I was looking at. Third ability, new. Zeri now deals bonus magic damage to the first target hit based on her critical rates, to a maximum of 100%. So after you use your third ability, your next auto attack afterwards is going to be able to deal bonus magic damage. And on top of that as well, the damage that you deal behind the first enemy has also gone up by a lot. You can see before it was 0, 65, 85, 95 damage to the target behind, but now it's 80, 85, 90, 95. Going to help her a lot during the early game, both in wave clear and just damage overall. This is a really, really nice change. And also, before, you could hit an enemy champion to reduce the cooldown of your third ability by 1 second. But now, hitting enemy champion with an attack or an ability will reduce the cooldown by 0.5 seconds. And if it critically strikes, it reduces the cooldown by 1.5 seconds instead. And of course, with Zeri, you're going to be building crit anyway. So you can reduce the cooldown of this ability by 1.5 seconds every single time you crit. Lovely change. You're going to be so much more mobile. You're going to be able to do so much more damage now with your third ability, because now you get the bonus damage on top of it as well. Really, really lovely change. And also the ultimate. So now the ultimate, before, or at the moment I should say, the ultimate, you have to hit multiple enemy champions to make use of the overcharge passive, which allows you to do bonus damage with your auto attacks. Now you only need to hit one person with your ultimate, and now you just need to auto attack to refresh the duration and increase the extra damage that you're able to deal, which is really, really nice. As you can see, upon hitting a champion, she gains move speed and attack speed bonus that can bypass her attack speed cap for 5 seconds. Hits the enemy champion with an ability or an attack, extends this ability's duration, and adds 1 stack of overcharge for 1.5 seconds. Before, the only way you could stack overcharge is depending on how many enemies you hit with your ultimate. So now it's a lot less based on how many champions you hit with your ultimate at the start. It's now based on what you can do afterwards. What can you auto attack afterwards? Can you use your abilities afterwards? And make sure you hit that means that you can, extend the ability's duration and also gain more overcharge. And critical strikes add 3 stacks as well. So again, really buffing crit Zeri a lot. During this time, her attacks become faster, triple shot that chains into nearby enemies to deal 25% physical damage. So you're now only going to be able to deal physical damage instead of bonus magic damage, again, with her ultimate. So even though they are buffing the ultimate, again, Zeri's a lot more focused now with just AD items and, well, AD builds in general, which should have been the way in the first place. But now it's really heavily on AD because her ultimate is changing to AD, and also her second ability as well is changing to physical damage. And now Zeri doesn't discharge a Nova. You can see here you gain 8 stacks of overcharge for each champion hit. This was really annoying to deal with. Sometimes it basically meant that you had to E forward an ultimate, but then you're very low range, so you're using your E to go in, you're also using your ultimate on multiple enemy champions, giving you that big overcharge, but then you'll just die anyway because you have very low range, you have very low survivability. So really, really nice. I really, really like this change, and it's going to be really, really fun. Ashe, oh my god, Ashe is going to be an absolute machine gun in this next patch. I think Ashe is going to be crazy, crazy strong. So before, basically, with Ashe, your auto attacks dealt bonus damage if the enemies were slowed by frost. So if you hit your second ability, if you hit your ultimate, or if you hit another auto attack before, you would apply frost shot, and then the auto attack afterwards, you would deal bonus damage, and that would increase based on your crit rate. Now, all Ashe needs to do is attack. That's it. It's just Ashe's attacks. So you don't need to be frost at the start. Enemies don't need to be frost, so you don't need to use your W and then use your auto attacks to gain the bonus damage. Now it's just auto attacks. Auto attacks are going to deal bonus damage to targets, but this now also scales with her critical damage. So I think Ashe crit is going to be a lot more popular than it is this patch. This patch is all about the on-hit builds. It's all about Terminus, Runa's Hurricane as well. But next patch is going to be a lot more to do with crit. And on top of that as well, we now have a new part of your first ability. Before, what happened is that you build up basically to 6 stacks. And before 6 stacks, I think it was a minimum of 2 stacks. You could basically use your first ability whenever you wanted to, between 2 and 6 stacks. If you used it as 2 stacks, you would get 2 auto attacks. 6 stacks, you would get 6 auto attacks, etc., etc. And also, it had a cooldown as well. But now, you now just gain 1 stack of focus by attacking, which lasts for 4 seconds. And the ability can only be casted now at 4 stacks. But it has no cooldown. No cooldown at all, which is absolutely crazy. This ability having no cooldown, you basically auto attack to 4 stacks, auto attack 4 times, and then use your first ability and you become a machine gun. You just, and then auto attack 4 times again. It's gonna be absolutely crazy. You can see active here as well for the next 6 seconds. The attacks consumed focus before to gain attack speed, but now you just gain attack speed. You don't consume the focus anymore. Really, really big change to Ashe. Love this change. Like I said, I think she's going to be more of a machine gun and be more of a carry, because the problem is at the moment, she doesn't deal a lot of damage. She's more of a utility marksman. I think with these changes, she's going to be a lot more of a carry. Jinx, just a little bit of a rework to her passive. When she gets excited, she now restores 10% of her missing mana. Really big change for Jinx. I think Jinx was definitely lacking on mana, especially when you're trying to stay at range using your rockets. Every time you would kill a turret, or I don't know, a dragon camp or anything like that, anytime you would be able to take any of these, you would still be very low on mana, especially if you use rocket form a lot during a team fight. Now you can restore 10% of your missing mana and keep going in with your fights. It means you can use your third ability to trap more often. You can use your rockets to do a crazy amount of damage as well. So in my opinion, again, pretty nice. It's only a little bit of a rework, but it's a nice rework nonetheless. Miss Fortune's passive. Now, this is actually on top of the bonus damage that she already has with her passive. So at the moment with Miss Fortune, you auto attack 3 times, you gain a little bit of burst damage. But now at 3 stacks, you now deal bonus physical damage to that target, which is scaled off of your bonus attack damage and also scales with your crit rate. So not only are you doing the same damage as what you did before with Miss Fortune's auto attacks, but now you're dealing just additional physical damage on top of that as well. And again, it scales with your crit rates. Your crit rate is going to be even crazier. And the crazy thing about this as well, this is times as well. So the more crit that you build, it's taking this base value, plusing the 75% of your bonus attack damage, and then it's going to be times by potentially 100. Which is absolutely crazy. So your passive now is going to be doing a lot more damage. This does mean that Misfortune is definitely going to be a lot more auto attack focused than going for like a lethality, but a lethality build with her abilities. Again, we'll have to test it out. Vayne. What they're doing with Vayne is they're getting rid of a lot of the attack speed on the second ability, a lot of burst attack speed on her second ability, but now she gains a lot more Omnivamp, and she now gains Omnivamp for the whole duration. So a lot better for dual lane, but a lot weaker for like Baron lane Vayne or even mid lane Vayne. As you can see, the attack speed's going from 40, 45, 50, 55 to 15, 20, 25, 30. So a lot less attack speed, but now instead of healing with your damage bolts for a certain amount, you just gain 10% Omnivamp for 3 seconds. Really, really nice. I think the annoying thing is definitely Vayne top at the moment. I think this is going to help her a lot in dual lane. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of build Vayne's going to build next patch. I think crit build definitely could be a possibility with a new Phantom Dancer. We'll have to wait and see. Swain rework. I love this Swain rework because just all of these reworks just bring me so much joy, honestly. Swain, one of my most played mid lane champions. I think he's a very cool, has a very cool design. He had a lot of burst damage in the previous patch, but now they're trying to make it so Swain is going to be a lot more tankier and also just stay in fights for longer as well with his ultimate. The passive, the soul fragments healing percentage has gone down, as you can see. The percentage has gone down, but it now scales with your ability power, which is quite nice. The second ability, explosion delay, has gone up by 0.35 seconds. This shouldn't really do too much, to be honest with you. I think this will be completely fine. Demon Flare. This is a big thing though with his ultimate. So after you use your ultimate, normally you could only press your ultimate one more time and just do a big amount of burst damage. Now you can just keep using your ultimate over and over again. Every 6 seconds you could use your ultimate to do a crazy amount of burst damage, but also get a crazy amount of healing as well at the same time. So more sustain during fights, more damage during fights as well. However, the damage per second has gone down. That's, totally fine though. This is a really, really big change to Swain. I think it's going to change up a lot of things about Swain. Now we're moving on to champion changes. This actually wasn't in the Chinese PBE, but we're going to go through them anyway. Of course, there'll be changes that come in tomorrow. Tryndamere, definitely a champion that's been underperforming at the moment. The passive, the bonus attack speeds are actually going down, but Tryndamere is now getting the same treatment that Yone and Yasuo got a few patches ago, where Tryndamere now converts critical rate above 100% into attack. Oh, actually, no, he already did that. Of course he already did that. That was stupid of me. But sorry, the ratio is basically going up. So now it's 1 per 1% crit instead of 0.8% per 1% crit. So the bonus damage is basically going up a little bit. Sorry, I had a bit of a brain lag moment there. Of course he already had that. So yeah, just the bonus damage going up depending on crit rate that's over 100%. The ultimate, though, increases your base Fury's attack speed to 45, 60, and 75%. So your base attack speed is going down on your first ability, but now you gain more bonus attack speed from your ultimate. So overall, you're getting more attack speed and you're getting more damage from the passive as well, which is quite nice. Kindred, passive, Mark of the Week. Mark autos refresh interval on monsters. So now we get more marks on monsters. Of course, the monsters are always going to be in the enemy jungle, so they're a little bit difficult. Cooldown for using active on an enemy champion has gone down by 10 seconds, and cooldown for marking the same enemy champion has also gone down by 30 seconds. So really trying to make sure that Kindred can get as many marks as possible. I think Kindred's in a pretty decent spot, and I think, Kindred will be very good in the next patch as well with some of the crit item changes that are coming on through. So I quite like that they're changing the passive, but I think the champion was already fine in my opinion. Rammus, they had to ban Rammus with all of these ADC changes, right? I mean, so many ADCs are getting buffed. The items are getting some crazy reworks as well. So they're buffing Rammus to try and be a counter as such to some of these AD carry changes. The base damage of the second ability is going up every rank. And the ultimate is also going down by 10 seconds at every rank. Just a small buff. Rammus was already performing very well. But like I said, with a lot of the AD carry changes and the items coming on through, I think you definitely need a buff to, like I said, be that counter in a way. Rakan is getting 4 buffs. I swear to God, this has to be like just this year alone. I swear I've seen like 3 or 4 Rakan buffs. Rakan has been buffed so many times. This patch, he's getting a crazy buff. His base stats are going up. His base health is going up by 30. his shield cooldown timer is going down as well, especially during the early game with your with the laning phase. The first ability base damage is going up, which is going to help a lot if you're going like the electrocute burst damage build, and the base regen is going up as well, again a lot more in the early game. And the grand entrance damage is also going up, so you got more damage on your first ability, more damage on your second ability, which is base damage as well, more base regen, shield cooldown timer, and also more base health in the early game, which can mean you can play a lot more aggressive. Rakan is one of these champions that has a lot of 1v9 potential, especially if you're building full damage. Already a very popular champion that honestly is just going to get even more popular next patch and might be one of the best supports to play next patch. Okay, let me take a quick sip of my drink before we get into the Yordle items, the themed items for this patch. So, item adjustments. So, all of these items are turning into themed items. They now have the overlay of like some gold border. You'll see it when you see it in game. They basically have a gold border now around them, and then the new themed items. Think of like the Hextech items from before. I think that's a great comparison. So redemption, they're lowering the ability haste by 5, but now this effect can also be This effect can now be triggered with no allied champions nearby. So before, you had to be near an enemy champion for it to proc. That's why it was so good on supports, and especially enchanter supports, because you just stand next to your AD carry and it keeps procking over and over again. But now it might proc when you're in base. It might proc when you're roaming around the jungle. It's a lot good for more self-healing for yourself. So a lot more better for tanks, for example. But it's a lot weaker now for enchanter supports, because you can't guarantee that the heal is always going to go on the target that you want to. So a nerf to enchanter supports, but a buff to tank supports. Yordle Sunfire Aegis. This is a passive that is on top of the already existing Sunfire Aegis. So at maximum immolate stacks, when you get the stacks of the burning, you now leave behind a trail that deals magic damage equal to 7 to 10 plus 0.3% of your bonus health for a maximum of 5 seconds. And it also deals more damage to jungle camps as well, and also more damage to minions. Sunfire was definitely a pretty underperforming item, so now you're just going to be able to deal more damage with this new Fire Path passive. Think of like Shyvana's second ability. It's going to be very similar to that. And also it's going to help jungle clear as well. Going to help you clear through the jungle. But again, it's at max immolate stacks, which you can't really stack on jungle camps. You have to really stack it on champions and then move to the jungle. So this isn't really going to affect too much in my opinion, unless this includes Dragon and Baron. We'll have to wait and see. But the minion damage is also nice as well. This is going to help, you know, pushing in lanes a lot for like Ornn, Shen as well. I think all of these are going to be very, very nice for split push champions. Yordle Harmonic Echo, the price is going down by 100. The ability power is actually going down by 15, which is a lot of ability power that it's going down by. It's going down to 40 ability power, which is still quite a lot of ability power, but losing 15 ability power is definitely going to hurt quite a bit. But now it has a new passive where Harmonic Echo is applied to the main target, and it now bounces to nearby enemy champions, healing them for 50% of Harmonic Echo's effect. So very similar to the Harmonic Echo item that we had before. For those who've played the game for a while will recognize this passive. But now you can now also revitalize the main target, restoring 2% of their maximum health per second over the next 3 seconds. So now you can get more healing, but also healing over time as well for that main target. So I think Harmonic Echo is still going to be very strong in the patch. Even though you do lose a little bit of ability power, the old passive is back, and we also have a new passive on top of that. So I think it's going to be quite nice. Liandry's Torment, great change to Liandry's Torment. Definitely a very underused item at the moment. Most of the time you build this item as a second or third item because this percentage value was just way too low. But now it's just a flat 0.6 to 2% damage per second, which is going to be a really, really big change and going to help a lot more in the early stages of the game. Early game, mid game champions that are going to build this item, Lilia and Morgana especially, are going to get a huge buff from this, because now you get more damage per second with Liandry's, whereas before you needed to actually build items and benefit from the 0.005% ability power before the item became worth it. It also has a new passive as well. Every 4 seconds Torment deals damage to enemy champion, it will now detonate to deal bonus true damage, which scales with your ability power as well. So not only did this get buffed in the early game, but now you gain bonus true damage with it as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are maybe some champions that could build this as potentially a second item. Some maybe mid lane mages, especially if you're against champions that have a lot of maximum health. If you're against a lot of tanks, this is definitely going to be a great viable option. Yordle Trap, ability power going down by 5, but now we have a new passive, a Thunderfall, sorry. When an enemy champion dies within 3 seconds of taking damage, you now summons a lightning bolt at the spot where they died, dealing a burst of ability power damage. The radius is quite large as well. It pretty much covers the entire mid lane in terms of like from top to bottom, from like wall to wall. So the area is actually quite big for this passive. So it's going to be really, really nice to give you just that little bit more burst damage. Of course, you're losing 5 ability power, but that's fine when you're getting like potentially, 50 to 85 more damage when you kill an enemy champion. And it just, helps the mages especially build this item so they can sit back, they can use their abilities, burst a lot more, and when they kill someone, they're just going to do even more AoE damage. Yordle Grudge, price is going up from 3,100 to 3,300. The build path is changing ever so slightly to include an extra longsword. Now you have a new Frostbite passive. So when you apply, now you apply Frostbite to enemies slowed by ice for 6 seconds. And at 3 Frostbite, all stacks are consumed to apply bleed to the target, dealing 30 to 100 plus 70% of your bonus attack damage over time. But the big thing now is that it can apply Grievous Wounds. Grievous Wounds is the big anti-heal that everyone goes in every single game. There is so much healing in Wild Rift that it feels like it's a complete int to not go anti-heal, whether it's Morellonomicon, Mortal Reminder, Chempunk Chainsword is basically a dead item, so that doesn't really include it. But now the big thing is that Serratus Grudge can also now apply Grievous Wounds. The problem with it, though, is that you have to apply 3 stacks of Frostbite with your abilities, basically. So you're not always going to be guaranteed to apply the Grievous Wounds at the start of a fight, especially for Assassins as well. You're not always going to be guaranteed to get this extra damage, but it does mean that you can bleed the target. It's basically like kind of Talon Bleed. And also you can apply Grievous Wounds, but to be honest, if you're playing this on an Assassin, by the time you deal 3 ability damage or apply 3 Frostbite stacks, the champion's probably already going to heal or get shielded by, their support or someone like that. So it might be a little bit difficult. But it's nice to have a different alternative, I guess, as an armor pen item. I still don't think this item will be that good. Also, it went up by 300 gold, and it's the same AD as well. And you'll see a little bit later on that Mortal Reminder has gone down to 3,100 gold. So yeah. Dustblade, very scary item, I think, in this patch. The AD has gone down by 5, but now has a new passive, which is already on top of the passive that it already has, by the way, which you gain that extra burst of auto attack damage when you jump on an enemy champion. Now you have another passive on top of that, which you now become invisible for 1 second upon getting a kill. And while invisible, you gain movement speed, which has a 5-second cooldown. Get a kill, turn invisible for 1 second. Wait for 5 seconds, get a kill, turn invisible for 1 second. Very toxic item, which I think is going to be very strong on a lot of champions, and honestly just going to be really annoying to play against. Yordle's Hurricane. This is a big thing that we didn't know in the Chinese PBE, but they've actually nerfed Runa's Hurricane by a lot. The mini bolt's additional range has been basically cut in half. It used to have 150 additional range before, but now it only has 75 additional range. So you're not going to be able to burst as much. You're not going to be able to spread as much damage to a lot of targets. So really big thing here with Runa's Hurricane, the range going down by quite a bit. The Wind's Favor as well. Also, the damage is going down. It's losing 5 AD and 10 ability power. So you're not going to be able to get as much damage anymore from Runa's Hurricane. But it does have a new passive called Razor Wind. Every 2 attacks, your next attack fires an additional bolt at targets, which this is basically the first target, dealing 10% attack damage, attack power physical damage. I'm pretty sure that's a translation issue of some sort. Basically dealing 10% of your attack damage and applying on hit effects. So more focused towards AD champions now rather than AP champions because of this new effect. But again, as I mentioned, you're losing that bolt value and you're losing the value of the 5 AD. But you're gaining an extra damage, which is really, really nice. So 150 to 75 is going to be a bit of a nerf. Yordle Death Stance. Instead of now storing physical damage, you can now store physical and magic damage. So the physical damage from before, you basically took I think it was 30% less damage if I can remember the numbers correctly. You store damage, but you take true damage over time. And if you get a kill, you restore that true damage that you got taken over time. But now you can stop burst damage from physical damage and magic damage. Note that this item is still an AD armor item, so it's still going to be very good against AD champions. But you just need to be careful and, you know, make sure you build this on the right champions. But overall, it's going to be very, very nice still for bruisers in general that want to stop both physical and also magic damage. Critical Strike Marksman rework. I kind of want to read this. We've made a batch of adjustments to Marksman items that allow Marksman champions to gain greater benefits when selecting items that match their unique characteristics. In particular, we focused on adjusting the stats and mechanics of Critical Strike items, empowering Marksmen who opt for crit builds to have stronger late game dominance and greater ability to close out matches. Let's have a look through them. First thing, Soul Transfer, a new item coming to Wild Rift. If you did watch my PBE Chinese video, this is a little bit different. As you can see, the price has actually gone up to 3,200. It now gets 25 attack damage, which before was 20 damage, but now only gains 30% attack speed instead of 35% attack speed. So a little bit more expensive, but now we have a little bit more AD, which is, in my opinion, quite nice to have. So let's read the passive. So when your attack critically strikes an enemy champion or an epic monster, you summon a clone that lasts for 4 seconds to attack nearby enemies. That clone inherits 25% of your attack damage and additionally gains 30% of your crit as attack speed. Up to 2 clones can exist at the same time. I personally think this is a bit too of a unique item. I think especially when I go through all the other item adjustments and the other items that are going to be changing in this patch, especially the crit items, you'll see that a lot of the crit items are also getting a buff as well. And in my honest opinion, I don't think there are any champions that are going to fit this item in. The only champion that I can think of is Ashe, because Ashe has slow on her auto attacks, and it means that when the clones are chasing, they don't need to chase as much, so they can just keep auto attacking over and over again. And if a clone moves more than 600 units away from you, it will immediately disappear. So yeah, I think Ashe is probably the only champion that could benefit from this item. We'll have to wait and see to see how strong this item can be. In terms of stats, it's quite expensive at 3,200 gold and only gaining 25 attack damage. Of course, this is more of an attack speed item because the more you attack, the more clones that you can summon, or the quicker, I should say, that your clones can summon. Of course, you can only have a maximum of 2, but if you keep auto attacking over and over again, when the 4-second duration ends, you're just going to summon new ones straight away. Again, Ashe, I think, is going to be really good because your auto attack's slow, so it means that when you're chasing enemy champions, you're slowing them, but also you're dealing more damage with your clones as well because they don't need to chase as much to auto attack. Bit too of a unique item though, in my opinion. Bloodthirster, the base stats, the gold has actually gone down from 3,300 to 3,000 gold, and now you gain 15% attack speed. But the Bloodswarm passive has been removed. The Bloodswarm passive was when you're above, I think it was 50% health, you gained 11 to 25 AD, and I think it was 15% attack speed. So now you're not getting a lot more AD with Bloodthirster. Bloodthirster before gave you like, I think it gave you 60 plus another 50 plus another 15 to 20 AD or something like that. So it's giving you a lot of AD, and that's why this was a core first item on a lot of AD carries. It's keeping the attack speed, but it's getting rid of the bonus AD that you got. See, the build path has slightly changed as well. It hasn't got the extra longsword anymore. Now you have the Bloody passive, which has gone from 10% physical vamp down to 8%. However, attacks that critically strike, you now gain extra 4% physical vamp. So overall, you're going to be getting more physical vamp if you crit, but it's not too much of a difference. However, you'll see later on, shield bow being removed from the game, we now have a lifeline passive on Bloodthirster. So damage that puts you below 35% health grants a shield that absorbs 225 to 550 damage, which was the same value as shield bow from before, and also 20 armor and 20 magic resist for 5 seconds. So not only are you getting the lifeline passive from shield bow, you're now gaining additional armor and magic resist to make you super tanky. Even though this item doesn't give you as much AD as what it does in the current patch, I still think this is going to be first item worthy just for that lifeline passive alone, because we have so much healing in the kit. There may be a few other items that you can go as a first item on certain champions, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. But with the price going down, you still getting that 15% attack speed. You don't get as much attack damage as before, but you get a lifeline passive, which gives you armor and mag resist when you drop below 35% health, and also gives you the shield on top as well. So you're not going to be doing as much damage in the early game with Bloodthirster, but you're going to have a lot more survivability, which is, I think, what really Marksman needed with so much damage in the game. This is going to give you a crazy amount of survivability. So overall, I like this change. I like the direction that they're going with this. And as I mentioned, I still think Bloodthirster is going to be first item worthy. Navori Quick Blades, base damage is going down from 45 down to 40. We remove an ability haste, but now Navori Quick Blades gain attack speed. This is going to be a running theme with these items. A lot of these items now, a lot of crit items are gaining attack speed, which is going to give a little less value to Lethal Tempo and more value to Conqueror. Less value to Berserker Grease and more value to Gluttonous Grease, which to be honest was already the case anyway. Build path has slightly changed, new quiver plus a cloak of agility. The Death Strikes passive now only restores 15% of the remaining cooldown instead of 20%. However, now we have a new passive where your abilities deal up to 12% increased damage based on your critical rate. So if you have 50% crit chance, your abilities are doing 6% more damage. If you have 25%, your ability is going to be dealing 3% damage, etc, etc. The only thing I don't really know about this change is that I'm not too sure if it enhances your like auto attack. So say for example Xayah W, when you use Xayah's W, of course you gain auto attack speed and your auto attacks do more damage. Does this mean that your auto attack is going to be doing more damage because it's technically an ability, or does this just count as an ability like Lucian Q or Lucian W or Lucian Ultimate, for example? Be interesting to test it out to see what it actually does and what it means. I'm assuming it's the latter of what I've just said, where it's only going to increase your ability damage. So things like Tristana Ultimate, Tristana third ability, Lucian Q and W and ulti, like I mentioned as well. And it's not going to increase your auto attack damage when you use an ability. Like, I think a good example again is like Tristana Q. It won't increase your damage with Tristana Q. I don't think anyway, but it is Wild Rift, so you never know. Magnetic Blaster base damage, the attack damage is going from 0 to 25, but we're losing 10% attack speed. So already let me just quickly explain something. This is gonna be a hell of a yap video, but 25 attack damage, 25% attack speeds, 25 damage, 30% attack speed. The crit rate has stayed the same as well. Magnetic Blaster is 2,900 gold. It's a lot cheaper, and honestly, I much prefer Magnetic Blaster's passive over the new item passive, Soul Transfer. So they've changed the passive slightly. You now don't gain additional energized attacks because Stormrazor is removed from the game. The additional range has gone from 125 down to 100. The bonus damage, though, has stayed the same, but now you also get 60 movement speed for 0.5 seconds. And this damage can bounce to 5 enemies and can critically strike. Another big thing as well, which we didn't see from the PBE, is that you deal 20 to 50% damage against minions from this passive. This is actually really, really big change. This means that you could go first item Magnetic Blaster on someone like Vayne, for example. That doesn't really have a lot of wave clear. This is going to help her wave clear, but also still has attack damage and the attack speed that you need, and then you can go more into a crit build. I think that is a huge opportunity now for some champions that have very low wave clear that it can help with. So really, really nice change, and I think this item is still going to be strong. It was already strong. It's still going to be strong. Mortal Reminder, as I mentioned, going down in price from 3,300 down to 3,100. The attack damage is going down by 5. But again, Mortal Reminder now gaining attack speed. Navori, attack speed. Mortal Reminder, also attack speed as well. The build path is slightly changing. Now you only get 30% armor pen, but when you critically strike, you gain an additional 6% armor pen. So kind of similar to Bloodthirster, where you crit, you get more healing. With this, if you crit, you deal more damage because basically you're going to be shredding more armor. I don't think this is going to... I think the way that they were thinking about this, they're trying to stop bruisers from building this item, like Camille, Darius, you know, any of these champions, because Chempunk Chainsword is so bad in terms of stats, and because of the value that you get from Mortal Reminder in terms of the attack damage, but also the armor pen on top of the anti-heal as well, they're trying to stop people from bruisers from building this item by reducing the armor pen and trying to make it more focused towards AD carries. I don't think that's going to do it, in my opinion. I still think Bruiser's going to build this item because anti-healing is so strong. Most of the Bruisers that build it also benefit from the attack speed, the gold going down by 100 as well. And to be honest, I don't think they're going to be that bothered with 3% armor pen. Anti-heal is very important. You need anti-heal in most of your games, and it's going to be built. It's still going to be built on Bruisers, unfortunately. They tried to change it, but I still think this item is going to be just as strong as before. Collector buffs. Now, this is interesting. Attack damage going from 40 up to 45. Now your passive has scaling, which means that every single time that you kill someone, you permanently increase the threshold by 0.1%. So for every 10 enemies that you kill, it goes up by 1%. For every 5 enemy kills, it goes up by 0.1%. But also on top of that as well, the base value has gone down to 4%. So again, trying to make sure that people don't build Collector if they don't have any other crit items, but it does go up by 2% of your crit rate. So if you have 100% crit, the threshold goes up by 2%. So overall, it's going to be 6% instead of 5% when you have 100% crit. Or if you have 50% crit, it'll be the same number as before. But again, if you snowball, if you get a lot of kills, then Collector is now going to have more value. And also the attack damage is going up by 5 as well, which a lot of these other items are losing attack damage. Collector is one of the only items that's actually gaining attack damage. So a big buff to Neela, to Samira, and also to Jhin. This is going to be really, really big. And overall, you might actually be able to deal more damage now with Collector than Bloodthirster, because Bloodthirster doesn't have that crazy extra AD that you got from the passive. But the Collector still has that flat armor pen in the early game, which is going to help you deal a bit more damage. So Collector could do more damage now than Bloodthirster, but of course Bloodthirster does have the lifeline passive. Essence Reaver, the cold going down by 50, a very, very weird number. Attack damage is going down by 5. The big thing with Essence Reaver now, as I mentioned with Varus, is you're no longer going to be getting the extra damage when you first use an ability. Now it's going to have a Sheen passive and a Spellblade passive. And this Spellblade passive is basically like Solari Chargeblade, which is the item that got deleted. So you have Sheen now in your item build, which is a huge, huge change as well. Cloak of Agility and the Longsword. Spellblade. Casting ability will generate a Spellblade charge, maximum of 3 charges. Solari Chargeblade. That lasts up to 10 seconds. Hit the enemy with attack consumes a charge, dealing 90% base attack damage as physical damage and granting 40 movement speed for 2 seconds. The bonus damage can critically strike, and each ability can only generate once every 2 seconds. This is going to be crazy on some champions, Lucian especially, because now with Lucian, you're now just going to get an AD item, which you didn't get before with Solari Chargeblade. The Solari Chargeblade before was attack speed and crit, which didn't really benefit Lucian that much. Lucian's getting an AD item with the Solari Chargeblade passive. Absolutely mind-blowing. Like, Lucian, I think, is going to be a crazy AD carry in the next patch. Really, really good for champions as well that just use abilities a lot. If the champion uses an ability a lot, and if you use abilities, you need to make sure that you build this item because they're going to benefit you a lot. Of course, it still has the restoring your mana as well, so you can just keep spamming your abilities with someone like Lucian, for example. Xayah could build this, but we'll have to wait and see. Phantom Dancer, gold going down by 200, Zeal Longsword plus a dagger plus 400 gold, AD going down by 5, but the attack speed now going up by 10%. This is now going to be the most attack speed that you can get from any given item in the game. But on top of the attack speed that you get from Phantom Dancer base stats, before you had to basically auto attack 4 times before you gained the bonus 25% attack speed on top. So before you would get like 55%. It's just a rough number. It's not 55%, but it's basically 25% on top of the 30%, which is not going to be 55. It's going to be like 45 or 50. But basically what I meant to say is you auto attack 4 times, you gain additional attack speed. Now you just gain additional attack speed for 3 seconds. 1 auto attack and you gain attack speed for 3 seconds, and also you gain the movement speed as well. However, attacks that critically strike while the bonus are active also extends the duration by 1%. So really, really big for crit champions. But the bonus does not stack, and it does now have a cooldown, a 20-second cooldown. But the attacks can reduce the cooldown as well. So it's a huge amount of burst attack speed that you can get straight away at the start of the fight, which is going to be big for champions like Vayne, for example. But it does have a cooldown now, so I don't think this is going to be first item worthy, but it could be second, maybe third item worthy when you have 50% crit chance. If you crit once, you extend the duration of this passive by 1 second. Infinity Edge, kind of a meme to be honest with you, but now when your total crit rate gains from items exceed 100%, every 1% excess critical rate, you gain 0.6% critical strike damage. Basically, what you're going to do is times 0.6 by 25, which is, I'm pretty sure it's 15%. So basically, what you're going to do is some AD carries are going to build an Infinity Edge as a final item to gain 50% critical strike damage. The thing is with Wild Rift, you build 4 crit items. 4 crit items add up to 100%. You need to build the 5th item and take up all your slots for crit items to make this item worth it. Most of the time, though, as your 5th item, you want to build a defensive item. Guardian Angel, Twin Guards, more of Malmortius, even things like Randuin's if you're against a lot of crit. So most of the time, you're never actually going to build Infinity Edge when you go over 100% crit. I think there'll be a certain number of champions that this can be good on. Jhin is a good example that this could be very good on, because your crit damage is going to be absolutely absurd with how much AD that you get from Infinity Edge, and maybe Zeri as well, depending on you know, what support you have right next to you. But again, Infinity Edge going to be overshadowed by a lot of these other items, and most of the time you're not going to build above 100% crit because you want the extra the extra defense stats in there with a defensive item. But maybe the Lifeline Shield now. I just thought of this now. Maybe the Lifeline Shield from Bloodthirster can work as your defensive item, and then you can build Infinity Edge as the last item. I have to test it out because you might still get burst to 100-0 even with Bloodthirster. But yeah, pretty much a meme item that's probably not going to get built. Ardent Sensor. When you heal or shield an ally champion other than yourself, their attacks deal 16 to 30 damage, so the base damage of Ardent is going down. However, this damage can now critically strike. So now with Ardent Sensor, most of the time you want to build this when you have a crit champion by your side in the AD carry role. But also if you have like a crit jungler, for example, you're not going to get as much value if you put this on someone like a Riven that's not building crit, or a Aatrox, for example, that's not building crit. The champion needs to build crit and critically strike for you to gain the bonus damage. And the base damage has gone down as well. So again, trying to force basically AD carries now to build crit, which is kind of crazy in my opinion. Nash's Tooth, basically all they're doing now is they're reducing the bonus AD and the ability power, but now it's adaptive damage instead of just magic damage. So Nash's Tooth has the possibility of now of dealing AD damage instead of magic damage. So now you can maybe build this as an on-hit item for some champions. Wit's End is pretty much going to be a dead item next patch. I don't think it's going to get built a lot. I think a lot of people are going to go Nash's Tooth instead of Wit's End. Runa's Hurricane is still going to be very strong though. Base gold is going up to 2,800, which is a lot, and the base damage, as you can see, is going from 15 to 65 down to 10 to 55. So your damage now is going to be a lot less with Wit's End. Even though you might think that 10 damage is not a lot, you have to think when you're building on-hit items, you're auto-attacking a lot. So you're auto-attacking probably 2 or 3 times every second. So you're losing probably 20 damage every second. And if you keep auto-attacking over and over again with, you know, with lethal tempo as well, exceeding your attack speed cap, you're going to be losing out on a lot of damage with Wit's End. So yeah, pretty much going to be a dead item next patch, in my opinion. Could be wrong though. The enchanted item rework. So new items for the in Boots Enchants. Stride Breaker, very popular Boots Enchants over on PC League. Gore Drinker and Gale Force. 3 really popular Boots Enchants, which were also mythic items over on PC League a few seasons ago, and now come into Wild Rift. Stride Breaker, basically this is going to be used on bruisers that want to chase champions and slow enemy champions down. And also it's still going to deal damage. Champions like Garen and Darius are going to be great with Stride Breaker. You should say activate to a short distance, dealing physical damage and also slowing enemies by 30%. So champions that want to chase enemy champions down, that want to stick really close to them, Stride Breaker is going to be great. Drink, on the other hand, is champions that just want to go all in. They want to go face first. You're playing champions like Aatrox or Riven that are dashing in, doing a bunch of damage, and you're going to be surrounded by a lot of enemy champions. When you're surrounded by all of these enemy champions, you activate Drinker to do a shit ton of base attack damage, by the way, as physical damage, but also you restore health equal to a percentage of your attack damage and also 12% of your missing health. And the crazy thing is as well, this only has a 15-second cooldown. So the healing that you can get now from Drinker and the survivability that you can get if you hit multiple enemy champions is going to be absolutely huge. Gale Force as well, and again another Boots Enchant for champions that don't have a lot of mobility, with Hextech Protobelt changing to be more to do with mages now by reducing its magic damage, reducing the magic resist of enemy champions. They've added in Gale Force to still have a mobility boots upgrade option for AD carries. You fire 3 missiles, you do a bunch of damage, and also you dash in a targeted direction. However, I still think this is going to be weaker than things like Stasis and QSS just because of how powerful they are. Onto the adjustment, Glorious Enchant. This is a lot. So, Glory Enchant, you now gain just flat 30% movement speed. Before, you gained 15% movement speed if you're running away from champions, but if you're running towards champions, you gain 75% movement speed. So you've got this crazy amount of burst of movement speed to run towards enemy champions. Now you have this bit of a flexibility. I think overall this is actually a nerf to Glory Enchant, but they did buff it a little bit in the second part of the passive, where you can now slow enemies by 60% for 2 seconds, and it also grants you tenacity and slow resist for 3 seconds as well. Overall, I think this might be a pretty dead Boots Enchant, to be honest with you. I don't think there are any champions that are going to be going Glorious Enchant when there's things like Gore Drinker and Stridebreaker in the game as well. Of course, Stasis and QSS as well. Stoneplate, they're trying to make Stoneplate now more of a tank enchant, and again trying to move Stoneplate away from these bruisers that are building it, like Camille, for example. So the base health shield that you get now has gone down from 28% down to 20%, 28% down to 20%, sorry, but every one bonus armor and mag resist that you have increases the shield by 0.1% up to 35%. So if you have more armor and mag resist, if you build like a tank and have armor and mag resist, your shield from Stoneplate can actually be bigger than the current shield that you have at the moment. So again, really trying to I guess make these Boots Enchants more theme-wise, I guess you can say, like with Stoneplate trying to be themed towards tanks, Glorious Enchant trying to be themed towards bruisers. You know, we have other bruiser enchants like Gore Drink and Stridebreaker. They're trying to separate the Boots Enchants now to make it more themed towards certain classes and certain champions. Repulsor, bit of a change, cooldown going down, but instead of just knocking back enemies, after a 0.5 second delay, you now also knock back and stun enemies for 1.25 seconds. So you have a bit of a delay, so timing is important, but you can now knock back and stun enemies. I still think this is going to be a dead Boots Enchant, in my opinion. Protobelt, as I just mentioned, the really big change now is upon hitting the target, you now reduce the target's mag resist by 30% for 3 seconds. Really big for Ari, for Annie, for these engaged champions that have a lot of burst damage after they use Protobelt. Most of the time you use Protobelt to try and gap close, to try and get into close range, to try and use your abilities like Annie, for example. But now with this on top, you're going to be reducing the mag resist if you hit Protobelt, and Protobelt is going to do damage as well. So you Protobelt forward, you use Tibbers with Annie, huge damage is going to be going off, and also you gain movement speed on top of that as well, which is going to help champions when you Protobelt. Really, really big change. Veil Enchant. Now, Veil Enchant is not what I thought it was going to be. It's actually weaker than what I thought it was going to be. On the Chinese PBE, it looked like that you got Mikhail's Cleanse from PC League, and also you get the Spell Shield on top. But the Spell Shield on top of it only works if you don't remove disabled or crowd control effects. So if you don't use the Veil Enchant as Cleanse, which is this first part here, as you can see, you can use Veil Enchant as Cleanse now. If you don't use it as Cleanse, you can use it as a Spell Shield instead. So if the ally is not affected by any such effects when you use the Veil Enchant, they instead gain a shield for 3 seconds. So it's going to be big on timing now. Like, Veil Enchant is actually super crazy now for timing. So is it now, do you use Veil Enchant as Cleanse to stop like a Nautilus knockup? Or do you stop it after the enemy champion, or after your AD carry gets knocked up, and you use it to block the next ability after that. So there's a lot of thinking that goes in your head now when you're using Veil Enchant. So this isn't just going to be a, you know, instant pickup. Use as a more, proactive ability now. Reactive Boots Enchant, that when you see someone getting knocked up, use it proactively, or use it to make sure that you can stop someone in your path. You can now also use this reactively as well. If someone does get crowd control, boom, use Veil Enchant and it works as a cleanse. Kind of a big change. Dreammaker getting buffed as well. The damage now is going to be pretty big, and also you now gain movement speed instead of reducing the next damage that comes on through. So now it happens every 6 seconds instead of 8 seconds. And as I said, you know, before it was the damage and also you blocked basically the next damage here. But now both Dream Bubbles grant 15 to 90 damage, so you get less damage, but also grant 15 to 30% movement speed. I much prefer this movement speed over the damage reduction that it had before. It might be a bit more of a viable boots upgrade, but I think Veil Enchant for supports that are just going to be, it's just going to be so much better. You have the flexibility now of Veil Enchant with cleanse, with the spell shield. I think it's going to be much better. Magnetron Enchant. You now have a inbuilt Nautilus hook that you can use around the map. You can use it on walls, you can use it on allied champions, and you can use it on minions. Overall, though, I do think this is a nerf to the Boots Enchant. Magnetron was a very strong Boots Enchant because what you could do, you could use your ally minions, and you can use the melee minions that are standing right at the front. You dash to that with Megatron Enchant, and it's pretty much a free engage every single time. But now it can actually get blocked by this new Magnetron Enchant. So if you're sitting behind the minions, if you're trying to go to the melee minion now, it's going to get blocked by the caster minion. So you can't actually just dash to a melee minion for free. But you do have the flexibility now of being able to use this on walls, use this on wherever you basically want to. So it has a bit more flexibility in that sense. Ravenous Hydra is now not going to deal damage to nearby enemy champions and restore health. Instead, when active, your attacks over the next 9 seconds deal physical damage equal to your attack damage as splash damage to nearby enemy champions. Melee attacks deal splash damage in a bigger area than ranged champions, and has a 30-second cooldown. So basically, you're going to have PC League in a way. It's not a passive effect that's not going to happen throughout the whole game, but timing is crucial now with Hydra. You use Hydra Enchant and you want to auto attack. You want to keep auto attacking over and over again. And it's also equal to your attack damage. This is going to be a lot better for champions that are going to be dealing a lot more damage. Could be pretty good. I think this might be a pretty underrated Boots Enchant in the next patch. Even for like ranged champions like AD carries, this can also be really, really good because you're just dealing physical damage equal to your attack damage. You're basically just getting bonus damage from Ravenous Hydra, which is pretty nice. Hullbreaker is returning to Wild Rift. However, it has changed by quite a lot. Hullbreaker is not going to be the same OP item that it was before. Instead, it's going to be more focused on champions that auto-attack a lot, whether it's during laning phase, for taking towers and everything else as well. So someone like Sion is not going to benefit as much from Hullbreaker as he was, you know, before. So price 3,100, 400 HP and 45 attack damage. 2 Drummer's Fist plus 700 gold. You gain a movement speed, which I'm pretty sure you got before. But now this passive is really huge. Another big thing as well is you yourself don't gain resistances anymore. You don't gain armor and you don't gain mag resist if you're not near any allied champions. Now only your minions, your siege and super minions, now also only get armor and mag resist, and 25% if you are a ranged champion. So now it's only your siege minions and it's only your super minions gain the armor and mag resist, which is really big. So you're not getting resistances yourself. But now, every 5th attack against a champion and epic monster deals bonus physical damage equal to 160% base attack damage plus 5% of your maximum health. This is increased to 240% plus 9% of your maximum health as bonus physical damage against structures. So it's still going to be used a lot. I think Fiora is going to use this a lot. Urgot can also use this a lot as well as Irelia is another champion that uses this a lot. Basically, you want champions that auto-attack a lot. If they auto-attack a lot and if they have a quite decent high enough attack speed, then you can use this every 5th auto attack every single time to take towers very quickly, but also to deal more damage towards enemy champions. So this could be a great alternative for you to build and for you to, you know, be able to split push and try and end games by split pushing underneath towers. So pretty big item returning to the Rift, but not the same. Eclipse going to be crazy strong next patch. It only went up by 100 gold, but now you have 5 more attack damage and you deal 1% more of the target's maximum health. Big item that was already very strong, and a very strong item in the Baron lane is more of this trading item that gave you a shield but also gave you bonus damage and also a lot of attack damage. This is going to be even stronger than what it was before. Lost Whisper, the price is going down, which I think is actually really huge. The price of Lost Whisper going down from 1,300 to 800 gold, I think is big. You do lose attack damage and you do lose a little bit of armor pen, but you now getting 12% armor pen for 800 gold is a lot of value. That is a crazy amount of value. So you're basically getting half or a third of the armor pen of like Mortal Reminder or Serrader's Grudge for 800 gold, for only 800 gold. I think if you're against tanks in the early game, you can go for Lost Whisper, you can build this for 800 gold, and then just continue building your crit items. So really, really nice. I think this change is really good for Lost Whisper. Nash's Talon, which is the component for Nash's Tooth. The magic needle has gone down to replicate the same change from Nash's Tooth. Shard, which this builds from Magnetic Blaster, with Magnetic Blaster not getting as much attack speed and now having attack damage. This item now has attack damage, which is big, really, really huge now in the early game for you to build this as an early item. And as you can see, now it's Longsword plus 400 gold instead of it being Dagger plus 400 gold. So now you have a component that you can build in the early game to help you with bonus damage when you build into Magnetic Blaster. Boots changes, reduces physical damage taken by 7 to 10%, which it was before, and it's still 7 to 10%, but now is only damage taken from champions. So now you're not going to be able to reduce damage from minions, from towers especially, and it's also the same with magic resist boots as well. So it's reduced magic damage taken from champions. Pretty big change for boots. I still think these defensive boots are very, very overpowered, and they're still going to be built pretty much every single game because there's not really a lot of alternative, especially for like bruisers and tanks, for example. But it means you can't tower dive as easy. And yeah, like if you build armor boots on like Aatrox, you could tank so many tower shots, but that's not going to be the case next patch. Big change to Ionia boots and boots of mana. Champions without mana now gain 75% base health regen. Rumble, Vladimir, Akali, these boots are now going to be viable on these champions, especially boots of mana as well, because boots of mana already gave you a shit ton of ability power and the flat magic pen in the early game. You now don't need to buy defensive boots on these champions anymore. You can build boots of mana and still get 75% base health regen for the laning phase. I think the defensive boots have like 100 to 150 base health regen, so it's not going to be as much, but it's still pretty good. And another update, which we didn't actually see in the PBE patch notes, but Berserker's Greaves is getting buffed, where attacks restore 8 health on hit. This is an interesting change because they're basically trying to make Berserker's Greaves viable, but I'll tell you the reason why Berserker's Greaves is not going to be viable. One, it still doesn't give you near enough as much AD as what Gluttonous Greaves does, and AD in the early game is a lot more valuable than attack speed. Also, a lot of items are getting attack speed. We saw previously, Bloodthirster is getting attack speed now. Navori Quickblades is also getting attack speed. So all these items now are getting attack speed. And of course, you're also Mortal Reminder, also gain attack speed. So you're getting like 30% attack speed from all of these items, or maybe even more. So you don't need the attack speed from Berserker's Greaves. It's nice for on-hit champions. On-hit champions are still going to build Berserker's Greaves, like Vayne, for example. It's going to be very good on, again, to help her during that laning phase. That extra health on hit means that you might not need to build like Blade Rune King or Bloodthirster as a first item. You could potentially go for Magnetic Blaster as a first item. Also, this is a bit of a buff to Yone and Yasuo as well, who also builds Berserker's Greaves. But overall, I still don't think it's going to be built on like every champion. As I mentioned with removed items, Starry Chargeblade, Immortal Shieldbow, Storm Razor, and we haven't got to the oh yeah, we did go to the enchant, sorry, and Meteor Enchant has been removed. Teleport has also been removed as an enchant, but is now a summoner spell, which we'll talk about in a second. So Solari's Chargeblade passive is now going over to Essence Reaver, Immortal Shieldbow's passive is going to Bloodthirster, and Storm Razor's passive is going to Magnetic Blaster. Meteor's just being removed, dead item. Teleport is now becoming a summoner spell. Pretty interesting. An hour and 10 minutes. Holy shit. Okay. Summoner's Rift. Oh god, there's going to be so much yapping as well with Summoner's Rift. Summoner's Rift is also getting some really, really huge changes. We are still keeping the Bandle City themed. So we're still getting the Bandle City theme with the Enchanting Ensemble, the themed Baron buff, but there's going to be some changes to the map itself. So, bushes. We've adjusted the position of certain bushes of areas to improve map visibility and make it easier for you to control vision. Some bushes have also been removed to reduce the danger in certain areas of the map. So the bushes that have been moved, the top lane and bot lane river, the bushes have been moved to the side of the river to now the middle of the river. This makes ganking a lot harder, but also makes it a lot easier for basically people to ward in a certain position on the map. It means that you're not going to be on a weaker side of the map if you're on one side of the map. The bush is now in the middle. So anyone can ward it. It's a 50-50 of whoever gains control of that river bush, and it's going to be pretty important. Mid lane bush is also tweaked slightly as well. Where blue buff is, the bush is now not towards the mid lane wall. It's now on the blue buff wall instead. Hopefully you can visualize that, but basically behind the blue buff you have the wall that goes towards the mid lane. It basically has just been moved slightly, and then the bush that has been removed is the one in your spawn on the red side of the map, which is just as you basically walk out of base. There's a bush when you walk out of base in the gates in the middle of the wall out of your base. When you walk through that, there's a bush right in front of you that has been removed. So that's all the changes that are happening. Some Easter eggs. I don't think this is going to do too much. Play some war games, you bonus gold. Occasionally small fish will gather in the river. You're basically getting jacks fishing from PC League. And destroying the plus current rally trigger a festival firework event. I don't think this does too much. Enchanting Piggy, I'm not going to go through this too much because this is in legendary queue. I'll probably do a separate video on this. But basically at 3.5 minutes, which is before first dragon, before first drake, you're now getting Enchanted Piggy, which will spawn at both the Baron and the Dragon. Wow, it spawns both in the Baron lane and the Dragon lane pit. I thought it'd be 50-50 where it would spawn, but now it's on both sides of the map. That is crazy. Defeating Enchanted Piggy grants gold experience and summons a mini piggy that automatically follow you player who will land the final blow. When the champion approaches an enemy attackable turret, the mini piggy will charge into it, dealing a bunch of damage. This with tower placings going down as well, I think is going to be a big objective to contest for, because tower placings in the early game is getting weaker, and this Enchanted Piggy can help you take more tower placings in the early game. So pretty interesting. Again, though, this is just for legendary queue. Apparently. Well, that's what it said on patch preview, but it doesn't say that here. So, yeah. Interesting. Anyway, gameplay tempo adjustments. I actually kind of want to read this. To optimize your gameplay experience, we've made comprehensive adjustments to the overall tempo of the game, which will create a smoother overall pace. These changes aim to ease early game coordination between lane players and junglers, reduce situations where you may face difficult choices or disagreements with your team, to lower the pressure of a single mistake. At the same time, these changes will also increase the impact if you have an advantage and diversity strategic paths to victory. We made targeted changes to turrets, minion waves, strategic points, and Nexus Shield. Additionally, the stats and mechanics of epic monsters have been adjusted. Both the spawn timers and rewards have been redistributed to better align with the new battlefield tempo. This is probably the biggest overhaul we've had for Wild Rift in the last few years. We have not had this big of an overhaul to turret platings, to objectives, to anything like that. This is a crazy change, but one that in my opinion is absolutely legendary, and you'll see why. I'll talk about it in just a second. So the outer tower plane turrets has gone down from 7:30 to now 6 minutes. You'll see why this is a little bit important later on, but basically the outer turret platings are now going to drop the same time that Dragon and Rift Herald spawn. And yes, that does mean that the spawn time of Dragon and Herald has gone up from 5 minutes to 6 minutes. You'll see that down here somewhere. There you go. Enchanted Ensemble and also Elemental Drakes. So with that coming into fray, you are going to be losing a little bit more gold now because you won't get as much turret platings in the early game. However, they have reduced the resistance of the early tower platings that you can get in the early lane phases. So from 25 down to 15, from 65 down to 55, and 105 down to 85. This is a really big change. This is going to mean that laning phase now becomes more important than ever before. Laning phase is going to last 1 minute longer. Tower platings are now going to be more important than ever as well, because they haven't adjusted really the gold that you get from the outer turrets. You're still going to get a shit ton of gold if you get solo tail platings. That's 150 gold every time. And also you get more gold as well. Like I said, laning phases, more important than ever before. Crazy, crazy change. Outer turret without plating has now gone from 25 to 50. Wait, what's this? Outer turret without plating. Not too sure what that is. Outer turret without plating. Oh, I think that's the resistances that it gets, or the extra stats that it gets if it has no platings left. So if the outer turrets have no plating left, so if it's after 6 minutes, they gain more stats. They gain more resistances. That's what I understand from that. Inner turret based resistance has gone down from 15 to 7. Gold destroying an inner turret has gone up, and team-wide gold has also gone up as well. So now it's more important than ever to destroy inner turrets. So instead of A-ramming and just pushing mid, it's now really important to rotate to the other sides of the map and gain gold from inner turrets from bot lane or top lane. So again, rewarding team play more than anything else. The outer mid lane turret attack interval versus minions has been adjusted from 1.2 seconds to 1.35 seconds. You have a little bit more leeway now in the mid lane with the attacking intervals to try and dive and maybe escape afterwards. New, destroying the first inner turret on the battlefield, you gain bonus 100 gold, team-wide 25 bonus gold as well. That's on top of the bonus gold you get here as well, no? Oh no, this is the same as this. I'm pretty sure this is the same as this. I don't think this is doubled. I think it's just a misprint. If the outer turret on the lane is destroyed before 9 minutes, its lane's inner turret gains a 1500 HP shield that lasts for 30 seconds. So even though the tower placement is dropping at 6 seconds and Herald, you can now basically take the tower for free, it's now not going to be able to really get 2 towers. So you can't get 2 towers because you take Herald and it's like 7 minutes in the game. You spawn Herald at 7 minutes. So it's going to be before 9 minutes when the first turret gets destroyed. So now the inner turret is going to gain a shield. So you kind of just want to take the first turret with Herald and basically back off and go back to farm. Because there's no way you're taking 1500 HP shield in the early game. Same with the inner turret as well. First inner turret destroyed before 11.5 minutes. Its lane next inhibitor will gain 1600 HP. So they're kind of slowing the game down for this. They're accelerating the early game and how much gold you could get in the early game, especially laners with getting more tower plates in the early game. You're not going to be able to push like multiple towers at the same time now. You're just going to push one tower and then go back to base or rotate and get another tower instead. Pretty interesting. Mid lane cannon minion changes. The base health is going from 565 to 470. The HP growth is also going down, but now the cannon minion gains armor and mag resist. It's only 8 mag resist, and now it's 20 armor. Wow. This is really trying to hurt AD champions in the mid lane. I think this is more of like a competitive esports Chinese change, because at the moment in China, what happens is the dual lane always goes in the mid lane. So the AD carry and the support always goes in the mid lane. This is trying to stop that, because now the cannon minions gain armor. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to kill. Even though it has 100 less health, that's completely fine. But it having armor means it's going to be more difficult to kill. And it only has 8 magic resist. So it means that mages now in the mid lane are going to have, in general, better wave clear, which is quite cool. Top lane minions. Before 6 minutes, top lane minion damage to other minions has gone down. Before 6 minutes. So now lane minions itself are not going to naturally push as fast as what they did before. And before 7 minutes, solo XP share for top lane has been increased from 120 to 130. Solo XP share. It says solo, but then it says XP share. So I'm not too sure if this is sharing on junglers coming top lane, or if it's just a solo XP and gold that's going up. It confuses. It's like 2 things in one here, which is a bit strange. We'll have to test that out. Global minion scaling after 6 minutes. So after 6 minutes, medium minion health goes up. Range, siege, cannon, and super minion, all their HP goes up by even more per wave after 6 minutes. Wow, it's going to be a little bit more difficult now to push minion waves after 6 minutes, because this HP buff is insane. Like 8 HP, 3, 9. Can't do maths. 9, 25. What in the, well, 15, sorry, not 25. That is crazy. And also with this as well, it means that this is going to be even harder for AD champions to push mid lane. My God, that's crazy. Okay, Nexus Shield. They've removed the current Nexus Shield mechanic and they've added a new one. So at the start of the match, the Nexus Shield gains a shield equal to 100% of its max HP. Starting at 12 minutes, the shield will gradually decay over time and will fully disappear at 16 minutes. I love this. This means that there's a possibility that 8 games could end like 13 to 14 minutes, because the problem at the moment is that you gain a Nexus Shield when you kill the first inhibitor at 16, before 16 minutes, sorry. So if you kill the first inhibitor at 15 minutes, good luck trying to end the game when it has a stupid amount of a Nexus Shield. That's not going to happen. But now at 15 minutes, it's now going to have a much less Nexus Shield than before. So really, really big change to try and end game sooner. It's like I said, these changes are crazy for tempo, because they're trying to make the game longer, but also trying to make the game shorter as well. And it's so many changes happening. It's absolutely crazy. Adjusted spawn time, as I mentioned, of Rift Herald has gone up from 5 minutes to 6 minutes. The damage to turrets has gone down, but that's fine because there are no tower places anymore, so that's completely fine. Post-charge effect on turret splits into 3 elemental instrumental instruments. Now it's only 1 random instrument monster, making it easier for defenders to handle. New. Since the Enchanted Ensemble no longer grants turret platings, the summoner will now receive 250 gold when the ensemble hits the tower. So overall, you're still not getting as much gold as what you would with tower platings, because before you would get, what, 3 tower places with Herald, maybe even 4, and that's 75 shared gold per time. 75, 50... Sorry, 75, 150... 225... Yeah, that's already 225. So basically, this is... But then you also get the gold of first turret. Interesting. This overall, I think, is pretty good that they've added this, because I think Herald might have been pretty bad if you don't get the tower platings in terms of gold. But I think still getting Herald is going to be the main protocol, because look, nothing has changed with dragons. Nothing. This is Elder Drake. Elder Drake is spawning 1 minute earlier. Nothing is changing with the stats at all. Actually, no, this is Elemental Drake. Oh no, that's Baron buff. No, that's Baron buff. That's Elemental Drake. So look, the dragons are not changing. The dragons, you're still only getting 2 or 3% stats every single time. So Herald is still going to be infinitely better. You might not get as much gold as what you did before, but use that Rift Herald mid lane. You open up the map so much, and you open up so much playmaking potential in that mid lane if you're able to take that turret down. Really, really big change. This is Baron buff. Baron buff has gone down from 12 minutes down to 11 minutes. So now you can get it much quicker. The Baron empowered minion damage reduction versus enemy champions has gone down. So wave clearing against enemy Baron minions are going to be much easier. And the first Baron buff duration has gone down to 90 seconds instead of 120 seconds. So it means that if someone takes Baron at 11 minutes, they only got 90 seconds now to use it instead of 120. And also, it's much easier now to wave clear from Baron minions. So again, they're trying to accelerate the game from Baron spawning earlier, but also making sure that the comeback mechanic is still there as well, with the duration only lasting 90 seconds, and also with you now dealing more damage to Baron minions. Really, really nice. Elder Dragon. Elder Dragon now spawns at 19 minutes, not 18 minutes. So this is really... Elder Drake is like late game now. Elder Drake is complete late game, from 18 to 19 minutes. Most of the time, games are going to end before 19 minutes. It's very rare that games will last now up to 19 minutes, in my opinion. But as you can see, the burn effect is crazy now. You cannot give up Elder Drake. Elder Drake is the ultimate end goal. End goal, you need to go for Elder Drake. You need to fight Elder Drake. If you lose Elder Drake, you lose the game entirely. Look at that damage buff. Absolutely crazy. But obviously, it spawns in 19 minutes now. Enchanted buff. Red buff and blue buff now becomes empowered at 6 minutes in the game. Is this where you share blue buff and red buff to everyone on the map? Oh no, sorry, the empowered okay. So the empowered version is when someone can walk to red buff and blue buff and take it. It has that circle around them. The evolved version is when everyone gets it. So everyone now gets blue and red buff at 11 minutes instead of 12 minutes. Again, trying to bring more resources to the game a lot quicker as well, which is pretty nice. Objective bounties. Lower the bounty for destroying outer turrets when it becomes an objective bounty. Big. This was way too overpowered as a comeback mechanic, especially outer towers as well. It's so difficult in a game like Wild Rift to defend outer turrets. And when outer turrets gave a stupid amount of gold for a comeback mechanic, yeah, it was just free as anything. You just take so many outer turrets and you basically come back in terms of gold. And this as well, Extali Scorpion is being removed from the game. No more Scorpion Friend to help you now in the Baron lane. You have to push the towers itself. To be honest, I'm kind of glad about this because the changes that they're doing to the game, they're increasing the timer that Dragon and Herald spawns. They're making laning phase more impactful, and they're also making it so you can get tower plates much easier. If Extali Scorpion was still in the game, whoever took that is taking 1 or 2 tower plates for free, and you've just won the lane by just taking a Scorpion itself. Now it's a lot more to do with the 1v1s instead of trying to contest with that Extali Scorpion. Really, really big. Really, really like this. Spells, of course, as we know, Teleport Enchant is now been a summoner spell. I don't think this will be very good at all, in my opinion. I think this will be very, very weird and not used too much. I think it's much better to go for a combat summoner spell just because of how quick it is to get from the base to the map. Smite. When equipped with the Smite spell, golden XP from dealing killing blows to minions are reduced. That effect is now gone from 7.5 minutes to 6 minutes. So now junglers can go to lane at 6 minutes and get 100% of the gold and experience. Wow. They are doing some crazy meta changes. Absolutely crazy meta changes. I think that's all of them though. This is going to mean now that junglers can go to lane more. They can take towers more. They can push waves if they want to as well. At 6 minutes in the game. I mean, it means that like, I'm pretty sure this means that like just in general, carry junglers are going to be a lot more viable now, and not like AFK farm junglers, because this before meant that you just want to keep farming your jungle over and over again. And now it's gone down to 6 minutes. Actually, 6 minutes is when Dragon and Herald spawn. What the fuck? So it's 6 minutes during the game. Plates go down. Dragon spawns. Herald spawns. And also the effect of Smite is removed, where when you gain less golden experience for dealing killing blows on minions. Wow, I wonder if this comes up with some crazy things now that like junglers can stay in lane after 6 minutes. And just gain all the golden experience and help push lanes now. That is absolutely crazy. Wild. Absolutely wild change. Battle Fest Season 2. What is this? Oh, this is Battle Fest with Ultimate Spellbook and a Spellbook ARAM. I'll scroll through this. I'll scroll through this slowly, or I'll keep it on the screen if you want to pause it right now and read this. But anything to do with ARAM or adventure mode, I won't be reading. Soul Force Awakening patch theme. Again, I'm not too bothered about that. Ally target lock toggle. When enabled, you can designate a controllable ally as a priority target. Kind of cool for shields and heals. Kind of nice. So you can focus on one champion like your duo queue, for example. Signals. New signals. Group and / retreat. Buff alerts for Baron and... That's fucking huge, by the way. Buff alerts for Baron and Elder Drake is so big. The amount of times that people try to engage or try to fight when an enemy team has Elder Drake and they just die, I hope that you can ping now when the Elder Drake or the Baron buff expires on enemy teams. You can just spam it so they don't engage. Smite cooldown alert, again, really big. It means that you can actually tell people when Smite is on cooldown. Lane opponent missing, pretty nice. Tank the dragon for me. Low status recalling. Nice. Really, that's some cool new ping buttons. Optimized Poro VO. Okay. Voice lines for enemy has no flash, enemy no ulti. Okay. Grandmaster is now split into 3 tiers. This doesn't really do much, to be honest. It just splits into 3 tiers, makes the climb a little bit smoother. Defeat side SVP upgrade. So apparently they're making Galio's ages permanent in the new season. So the SVP system has been optimized, now includes 3 performance-based tiers: gold, silver, and bronze. Gold and silver SVPs now receive fortitude compensation in rank matches, or legendary enemy energy compensation in legendary rank mode. Even in defeat, your impactful plays won't go unrewarded. So Galio's ages is going to be a permanent feature in Wild Rift next season. And that means in general that supports are just going to be a lot more viable to play in solo queue. I'll be totally honest with you. If you're playing Enchants and supports, and if you're sitting back, you're not dying at all, and you're healing and shielding your team, you're still getting the same amount of gold, you're going to probably be getting SVPs. I'm not too sure what the gold, silver, and bronze really represents. We'll have to wait until tomorrow for that. But yeah, in general, supports are going to benefit from this a lot. And also junglers, because you can just farm through jungle, AFK farm through jungle, get a really high GPM, and still get SVP. New Starlight system. Win in Legendary rank to earn Starlight, which could be redeemed for Star Cores. In ranked, consuming a Star Core grants an additional segment per win. I guess that means mark per win. Maximum of 8. Okay, there's only a maximum of 8 per season that's going to be done. Thank the Lord for that. This is trying to incentivize people to play Legendary queue more, to still climb in normal ranked, which is kind of a cool thing. Thank God that this is a maximum of 8 though, because imagine if you could play Legendary queue and you could just climb on both at the same time. This can only be done 8 times, which is totally fine. Use a win exchange system for fairer and more efficient rank climbing. Pretty cool. Resource Management Center, you can now free up space on your devices. I think a lot of people wanted this for a while because the space now of Wild Rift is just absolute bonkers. Eternal's Star Mark. Patch 6.2, the total number of takedowns you achieve using specific champions will be recorded. Okay. Collector score updates. Role selection system. What's this? In ranked legendary queue modes, the original 5-position pre-selection has been updated to 3 preferred roles. Preferred position, secondary position, and fill position. Wow. Okay, so we're not going to be able to select 5 roles anymore, which might be a good thing. It might be a good thing overall, because I think the way that matchmaking works at the moment is they take everyone that's queuing up and they try and fit it in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But now it's just going to be 1, 2 every single time, because hopefully the fill position will have a lot less percentage than queuing up like 3, 4, and 5, for example. Or it could be the complete opposite, where you're now just coin flipping your fill and you might get filled support, where support before this season was your 5th role and you were barely getting it. It could work in 2 ways. We'll have to see. Players who are assigned to their fill position will receive compensation rewards subject to a weekly limit. Full 5-player premates and players with in-game violations will not receive fill rewards. Okay? So if you get filled, you now receive compensation as well. Pretty cool. Season highest rank in both profiles. The rank displayed will now be your season highest rank instead of your current rank. Quite nice. Rank reset adjustments. Gold to Diamond 2 place adjustments has been adjusted. Champion mastery score. Filter champion score cap remains the same. The champion score cap from ARAM has been slightly reduced. Less rank match. More rank matches, less on performance. Okay. Adventure mode experience updates, which I'm not really too care about. Leaderboard and champion honorable title systems. The champion honorable title will now update weekly on Monday instead of live. Oh, I don't like this. So how the fuck are you meant to know how much champion score someone has and how much champion score you need to be number 1? How the fuck do you even know that now? Because it's just going to be like, it's not live anymore. So how are you going to keep track of that? That's going to be interesting. When honorable medals are granted, you will now receive an honorable title, which could be equipped. Oh, okay. So now you can show people off in game that you're like rank 1 Zaya or something. New peerless title, if you get making top 10 with a champion 4 times. Champions and roles tab shows all season and season honorable history. Champion display section, you can now select your 3 highest honorable champions to showcase. Profile card frames now supports public display. After updating the latest patch, the first honorable week will be distributed based on leaderboard rankings as of Monday at midnight. So basically you have until Monday to get as much champion score as possible. Okay. And they've also adjusted the voiceover and Heimerdinger Vagar skin. Where the hell is... Where's the summer? I don't know where the summer skins are. They're maybe not even there. Holy shit. An hour and a half. Over 30 pages of changes. This patch is going to be just absolutely wild. There are so many changes. There's so many things to test. There's so many things to go through. This patch is going to be an absolute banger. If you're here from start to end, comment down below. I don't know. Comment down below banger. Just comment down below banger. If you made it from start to end, I will know that you would have watched this whole patch rundown if you comment banger down below. And of course, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. My voice is going at this point. Tomorrow, live stream. Friday, new season. Tomorrow, new video as well as Friday. It's going to be a banger. Crazy day ahead. Crazy week ahead, to be honest with you. So it's going to be fun. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Peace.